We are live now.
Okay.
Perfect.
Good evening, everyone, and good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're joining us from. Today is May 14th, 7 p.m. India Standard Time. And we are live with our Soul Show, Chapter 1, Episode 9. And I'm sorry, Soul Show Season 1, Chapter 9, with Raj Kapoor, founder and let me just take a step back from there, introduce myself because it'll be short, and then I can introduce Raj. I am the founder and CEO of Solverse, and I'm your host for today, for today's chapter, and our guest is Raj Kapoor. Um, as much as I would say about him, it will still be less, but I'm going to say a few words in his honor to introduce him to you guys so you can have, ask him all the questions you have at the end. He is the godfather of blockchain in India, very mildly said. He's the founder and CEO of the India Blockchain Alliance. He's also the chairman there. He's also, if you consider AI as a topic today, which is a hot topic, he is the chairman at Global Alliance for Ethical AI and Sustainable Tech, ESG, AI, and ML, and all of those. And he's an international keynote speaker, G20 and TEDx speaker. By the way, let me give you a brief that one of his suggestions was included in the G20 summit agenda, and so you can understand exactly where he comes from, what his experience is, and how he's respected in the blockchain world. And he's a Web3 author and a LinkedIn top voice. I think I have given you a very brief introduction, and I will hand over the mic to Raj to introduce himself a little bit more and then before we get started with the topic today. Raj, it's all yours.
Thanks, Kavita. It's nice to meet you again. I like to always speak with you because we've had some really invigorating conversations in the past. And I'm sure we'll have it today as well as in the future. So it's just a continuation of what we started off in Bangalore. So,
Hmm.
yes, Kavita is giving a pair. I mean, most of you guys should just go to my LinkedIn account and have a look at what I do. That's got pretty much everything. But bottom line, what I really like to do besides all this is create a lot of patents. Now, I'm now, probably the highest number of patents by an Indian is held by me, 67 patents in blockchain, and
Okay.
almost now touching 100 in AI. A lot of people don't know much that I know. But I was doing AI much before blockchain. AI has been there since donkey's years. Probably when I was born, it was around that time it came around. I,
Yes.
I'm in my 60s, so I'm not ancient, but yeah, still pretty much far behind most of you guys listening in. But anyways, I also besides that, I love trekking, walking. Let's look at the other side of me. I mean, one is the tech side, one is the other side, one is the human side of me. So maybe I'll just talk about the human side. The rest you can go to LinkedIn. I don't want to speak more on that. Uh,
Yes.
yes, the only thing which I'm very proud of also is what I'd like to say is also that this year we won as IBA and as I was we won at the top tech leadership award along with Microsoft in USA in Las Vegas about 3 months back. Now that is something which I'm really really proud of because we were the only Indian entry and we made it to the top as a joint winners with Microsoft. So I think we're doing something good out here, and all your love and support has always been there, and that's how I got so many titles now. Titles are meaningless if I don't have the love and affection of all my people out here. And Kavita, let them go to my LinkedIn and have a look at the rest. If I keep speaking, maybe our show will
Absolutely.
go.
We have shared your LinkedIn profile in all the posts that we have made on all our
Oh yeah.
social media handles. We'll also drop it in chat after the show, and people can absolutely reach out to you no matter what questions they have. They're more than welcome to ask a few questions here on the show today. And we already have questions coming in, by the way. But yes,
I can't
um,
see them, so I'm good. I'm glad.
yeah. So I will share that with you.
Yeah,
But
yeah, that's
Rogers, I just wanted to kind of touch base on the basics of the topic today, though we are talking about Web3 world specifically. I wanted to lay the foundation for it. As citizens of the world, we have this idea of entitlement from the government, whether it's services or even private or anything that is owed to us, where we feel entitled, whether we win something or anything like that, right? We feel we're owed something always. And we have this idea of unencumbered access to whatever we feel, is ours, whether it is, like I said, government services or anything like that. So, and we feel that somehow we bring all of that entitlement to our online presence as well. Just because we feel we are paying for it, or whether it is free or we're paying for it in some way because our data is being used by all the big companies. We feel entitled to a certain amount of service from them, and that I believe it brings out a side of us to the online activity that we are part of. As humans, we are very slow to adapt. We are slow to adapt to something, but we are very fast to bring all of us, all of what we are, to the online world, which leads to a lot of rudeness, a lot of theft, crime, all of that. That we have. Some of us have experienced some of it, at least, if not all of it. And so the question, right? How do you think that is going to impact our idea of digital citizenship in the Web3 era? How do you think we're going to see it? How do you think we're going to shape it?
See, if you look at the way things are moving right now, it's everything is digital. We all know that. We also know that along with that, we do say that, oh right, we are getting it to be a digital economy, etc., etc., etc. The data is king and all sorts of things. It's a great thing. Yes, data is great. Yep, the data is the one. The wars in the future are going to be fought over data. It's not going to be anything else. But I think one of the key things which we need to look at is that the governance. When you look at the governance, when we look at the Web3 technologies, they all rely on decentralized governance models. Now, those are not really very tested as yet. Decision-making power is distributed. We know that. That's exactly what decentralized governance is. While this is extremely good to have, I mean, it's really nice on paper, it also reduces the influence of centralized authorities, which could prove to be a dampener in some cases. Now, it also raises a lot of questions, Kavita, about accountability, transparency, manipulation. Can we do it? Can we not do it? Because a lot of people talk about blockchains. They talk about public blockchain and private blockchain. In my opinion, to be very, very honest, there is no such thing as a private blockchain. If it's private blockchain, it's in control with somebody else. It's completely a hyperbole. I would not really call it a blockchain. I would call it sort of a surrogate.
There is no decentralization there. I mean, the power still lies. It's pretty much like a database.
Yeah, it's pretty much there. It's just
different technology, but a different form. Yes.
So I really don't. That's my personal opinion. I don't consider private blockchains as blockchains at all. That's my personal opinion, and I'm a blockchain guy. So I love what they do, but I don't call it blockchain. So when I'm talking about, I'm talking about basically public blockchains. The second, one of the biggest concerns is privacy. Now, with Web3, we all have greater control over our data because through crypto techniques, encryption, blockchain-based ID solutions. However, there's again a caveat here. To ensure the privacy of this information remains still a challenge. When we talk about immutable ledgers, they can pose risks if sensitive data is not protected properly. If pseudo-anonymous identities can be linked back to real-world identities, you lose control again. It again goes into a tailspin. These are the things which you must keep in mind when we go forward, because everything will be working around that. We're just at a very nascent stage. Let's put it this way. We're at the ground floor of growth in this space. We're still at the ground floor, and we're going to work our way up. Identity management is another paradigm. Today we talk about identity management. It's all several, we talk about self-sovereign identity solutions, and it's all centered around that. While SSI, in my opinion, empowers the individual to control and manage their own IDs, it also requires a mechanism to prevent identity theft. Do we have it? Is it tested? Not really tested very high right now. Spoofing,
I think when the theft actually begins, a solution actually will arrive. It's always been,
Agree completely. So additionally, ensuring that interoperability and standards across different SSI systems Have we really mastered that? No, it's work in progress, but that's exactly what makes it so exciting. It makes it exciting because there's so much to do, and this is a new world we are entering. Imagine, I come from a world when we've seen a telephone with a wire, and now I've got a mobile. I
Right.
mean, it's both. I'm straddling both worlds, and now we are straddling Web 2 and Web 3 the same way. It's brilliant. It's actually the best space to be right now when you straddle two worlds and you see the challenges that opposed. Oh, another thing I
You
think
know,
is, sorry.
people may consider us dinosaurs because we are seeing two shifts. We have seen Web 1 to Web 3. We straddled both worlds where things were on paper and then went onto databases. So we were online, offline. We saw
Yes.
that. Now we are
Yeah.
Web 2, Web 3. We're seeing that.
Yeah.
And is the transition going to help us address some of these things, some of the governance issues, some of the ethics issues, and some of the identity issues?
See,
How far do you think we can take it?
basically, one of the key things still remains the compliance. The decentralized, the very concept of decentralized nature of Web3, it presents a challenge for all the regulatory compliance and enforcement because that's been set in stone for years. That's traditional. To break tradition is really tough. Traditional regulatory frameworks, they are as struggling to keep pace with their innovation. That's for sure. Especially when you talk about DeFi, NFTs, other Web3 applications, it's the Wild West out there. So balancing innovation and consumer protection is going to require a lot of collaboration between all stakeholders, policymakers, regulatory bodies, industry bodies, people from the space, and not just people who are armchair critics, people who actually worked on projects, worked on blockchains, worked on the technology. I
Right.
always say that unless you have worked on it, don't sit down and comment, guys. It's very easy to do that. That's another thing. And add to that another layer. Add to that the layer of an environmental impact. While we talk about regulatory compliance, we can still work around that. But let's even talk about the environmental impact. I also
Yes.
I always believe that we need to have tech for good. Any technology, if it has a negative impact on the environment, is terrible technology. The carbon footprints of blockchain and AI has caused concern in the past. Of course, there's a lot of mitigation happening there. So finding solutions within that space, that's where we need to really be going now. Regulatory compliance is going to be key. Whatever we say, whatever we do, if there is no regulatory compliance, it's all going to be in textbooks and it's all going to be in talks between you and me, Kapita, and the likes of us.
How much, we do have governments looking at governance and all of that, in terms of we have the decentralized governance in terms of DAO for the solutions, but we're looking at overall governance from the governments. How much of it translates to a balance of decentralized governance to the government's governance? Where is the balance that we can find? Are the governments ready for it? Are governments looking at understanding what it takes to balance both? Is that awareness there, and are we moving towards it?
I think awareness is there, but the approach is missing. Everything requires strong political will if there has to be a change. I'll give you a simple example. I'm wearing my watch on my left hand. Okay, I know the time. It's 10 minutes past 7. Perfect. If somebody tells me, hey, Raj, take out this watch and wear it in your right hand, I'll hesitate for a moment. Why? It's still going to be the same time. Nothing else will change. The watch is not changing. The brand is not changing. But what's changing is the process. That
Yes.
process moved, that paradigm shift from me making it from here to here without that, in a smooth transitory manner. That is the same thing where the government is right now. We all understand that there is a need for change. As I told you, there are a lot of challenges around traditional policy and the way things are moving how really fast right now. Also, there is a very important thing which I believe is a transparent decision-making process. Now, when we talk about it and say, yeah, okay, we've taken a decision, I have seen that most decisions are ad hoc. There is no clear and transparent process for decision making in the Web3 communities. So there has got to be a little more transparency in the decision making process, not just in tracking and tracing, yes, but how about decision making? Like, for example, on-chain governance mechanism.
Needs to be, I think that just to pitch in there, the impact of the decision needs to be understood far down the road, and that is a lot of research and somebody who understands how the industry works and what innovations we are
Exactly.
looking at eventually, and to take all that into consideration into decision making is the
Yes.
question we have today. Are the governments, going in that direction, or are the
Yes.
decisions being ad hoc?
Yeah. So, and the government also, because because blockchain is a community based technology, and the community participation and engagement is paramount out here.
Hmm.
Current governments or current traditional ways of thinking don't encourage that. So we
Hmm.
need to have active participation from a diverse range of community members in governance, discussions, decision making processes, feedbacks, debates, collaborations, interests, perspectives of all stakeholders. Then we need to come and make a framework around that. The open access to information that becomes makes it transparent. A lot of relevant information should be easily accessible to all community members, in my opinion. Project
Hmm.
documentation, proposals, minutes, financial reports, all that is in public. That should be made. Right now, it's a little hazy. We need that. We need to utilize the decentralized storage solutions, which we talk about in blockchain, or basically public accessible repositories to make it easier to ensure
Hmm.
that information is not controlled by any single identity. Because once we establish that, then becomes more transparent. Because a lot of the government really does not understand right now. I mean, they do understand, but they don't know how to approach the fact that, all right, this is a community based engagement. How are
Hmm.
we involved in this? What are we going to do? Are we going to get emasculated in some way or the other, or are we going to get empowered?
Hmm.
The gap between empowerment and emasculation here is exactly the big conundrum that they are facing.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
one of the biggest things. That once that is taken care of, and we're building bridges. Conversations like these build bridges over a period of time, and I believe that we need to have lots of conversations. Technology is not
Yes.
about only tech and programming, and it's all about conversations, and all about conversations that are easy for you and me both to understand. We don't need
Hmm.
to build walls with technology. We need to build bridges.
Absolutely. It's the way the government looks at it is shifting of power, but it's actually shifting of sovereignty.
Yes, it's
There's a
shifting of
huge
power.
different difference in understanding of that. It is not so much of the shifting of power to the citizens. It does shift a certain amount of power to the citizens, and which is always a good thing. And
Yes,
it's the same example that you've given about wearing a watch on your left hand or your right hand. It is just about where the power lies, and do we need the power to remain central for us to
I mean,
thrive? Do we need
yeah,
to decentralize it for us to actually thrive a lot more, and make some of these decisions as communities? How do
yeah,
we engage with water management? How do we engage with all of these? Can we decentralize some of those powers, right? And this is where the digital citizenship comes for the individuals as well. How do
yeah,
we understand this shift? How do we understand this power that is being shifted to us as well? And are we ready for it? Are we going to be responsible with it?
yes. So, ready for it? Yes, we are ready. We are a young generation, even though let's forget the fact that we are say in my 60s or 50s, whatever, but we are still a young
You're still
generation. Our
young.
minds,
You're absolutely
we
young.
are young. Yeah, because we have our thought processes. We are in the Web3 space, so we are young in the first place. We are looking at another generation. We are looking at another paradigm shift. This needs to be coupled with two things: education awareness, of course, uh,
Hmm.
and this education awareness is with all stakeholders. When I'm saying all stakeholders, it's with the public, it's with governments, it's with institutions, which actually provide the biggest impetus. Colleges and universities are the ones which actually should take on the mantle and say, let's, yes, we'll empower the future. We'll empower Web3, and we'll empower the citizens for Web3 in the future.
Hmm.
Ongoing debates, getting together a culture of responsibility, ethical conduct among all community members. Now, this is easier said than done, but
Hmm.
not going to do it. Who will? Somebody's got to
Hmm.
do it. So let's do it. Again, another one. We need to also have an external oversight and a review constantly. We
Yes.
need to actually put in external oversight mechanisms, which are, sometimes are there, some not there. Independent audits, third-party reviews, partnerships, standards, whatever. External validation actually helps us enhance credibility, and that's one thing which we really should not be averse to. And we think
Hmm.
that in turn is the governance process of Web3 platforms and communities. And at the end of the day, that's where people are going. People are ready. From what I speak with people, they are ready. Everybody wants to change. Everybody wants to change for the better. Everybody wants the power of the data back in their hands.
Right.
Nobody's complaining about that. Right now, everybody's made a lot of money out of our data. Have
Right.
you? Right? Not really.
It's not just so much about the money, it's about how you're treated in general,
Yeah.
and where your dignity lies, and
Mm.
also in the fact that sometimes you don't have access to your own data, which
Yeah.
could sometimes can turn to not just frustration but a whole lot of loss of your life,
Yes, absolutely.
control over your life, and which happens quite a bit in the financial industries, and
Oh, yes.
also in the education industry. It happens quite a bit, and we have experienced it.
Yes.
And I agree with you that the citizenship citizenry is ready for it. And no one knows it better than myself, who is building something to engage, enable that. But I wanted to kind of bring in a little bit about ethics into this. We're
Hmm.
talking about governance, we understand that. We talk about control and power, we understand that. When we talk about ethics, and you have with all the patents you have in AI, that gives an understanding of the amount of knowledge you have, and in depth in terms of that. When we talk about ethics, it's all over the place today. Oh, it's not ethical. It's not ethical. That is not ethical. This is not ethical. The word is being thrown around as if it's the newest word in the dictionary today. What do you make out of that, and what do you say when we say ethics in both in AI and in Web3?
Ethics is your moral compass, which lies within you, actually. It's in every individual. That's how the first definition of ethics is within us. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
the first magic bean is always inside us. We decide which side of the moral compass we need to swing. It's
Mm-hmm.
like this. As I said, every technology is a tool. If
Mm-hmm.
I give you a hammer, I'll make it simple and then I'll elaborate a little more. If I give you a hammer and a nail, you can probably make some great furniture out of it, make a sofa bed and relax and enjoy it and make something useful, or you can take it and smash my head. Either of the two.
Right.
So the ethics are all within us. That's my first thing is the magic is within. Now, when we
Mm-hmm.
have that, ethics are nothing but guardrails. We need guardrails for everything. Right from the time when we learned to cycle on our first bicycle, we had two little wheels at the side. Why did we
Right.
have that? To balance it. We know it's only with time that we let them go. Now,
Mm-hmm.
ethics today, in my opinion, are exactly like the guardrails of the cycles which we had. Why are they there? They're there to make sure that you follow a particular path. You don't deviate from there. You don't infringe in somebody's property. You don't get into somebody's house. You don't get into your neighbor's wife's house. You don't do any of those things. Nah, that's their guardrails. So ethics are your guardrails. It could be a conscious, it could be anything else. So ethics, in my opinion, are nothing but guardrails that allow you to take a direction, to
It is
go for
that
something,
simple, isn't it, Raj?
the responsibility. So whether it's AI, whether it's blockchain. In Hindi, there was an Indian movie. I always say that, and people find it silly sometimes, but I find it very useful. There was a movie called Bunty and Bubbly, Bunty or Bubbly.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people must
Mm-hmm.
have heard of it. There were
Mm-hmm.
two wayward, one boy, one girl, wayward, doing all sorts of odd things, breaking the rules. But when they were together, they were a beautiful couple, and they made a beautiful life after that.
Right.
Blockchain and AI today are exactly the Bunty and Bubbly from an Indian audience perspective, or like Bonnie and Clyde, you can say, from the foreign perspective. Now, when we
Right.
say that, they are both wonderful, but both
Mm-hmm.
are very nascent technology. When I talk about nascent, blockchain is nascent. AI has been
Mm-hmm.
there since a long time, but generative AI is nascent.
Mm-hmm.
Now, both technologies, if you look at it in the history of technology,
Mm-hmm.
they're little babies taking baby steps right now. Just
Right.
like we grow, and over a
Mm-hmm.
period of time, the environment around us and our parents, how they teach us, they inculcate values. The same thing is happening in the technology space. We are all
Right.
trying to inculcate some values, some method in the madness. Right now, it's the Wild West. A lot of you can do anything. Everybody's deep fakes, everything happening all around us.
Yeah.
It's
It is probably, the way you could look at it as you're being given a tool, and it takes for us to understand whether we use it for the good or whether we use it to enhance our next our
yeah,
production, or we
mhm,
use it for to create deep fakes and cause um,
absolutely.
a lot of
Cause wars. You can cause
Yes,
wars.
of
You
course,
can
the
have,
world. I have one, a politician, one leader talk about the other leader, voice deepfakes, visual deepfakes, and the
yeah.
tools that are being developed. We are quick to, judge the maker of the tool and
Yes.
impose, those guardrails on the maker of the tool. Not
Yes.
so much as think about we need those guardrails, and as long as we have the guardrails, that is not going to be, abused. We don't look at
Absolutely.
it that way. We're always saying that, the maker of the tool, they need to take a step back and look at it whether they're making this to make a quick buck, or whether they're you making it to make your life easier, and looking at the broad picture, the long road down,
Yeah.
down from where we are today, and looking at creating technology that would, expedite. There's so many tools that are going to be built on it, agents,
Absolutely.
and AI is going to be introduced into, hardware and machinery and all of that, right?
Very true.
So do we look at it that way, or do we look at it as we as citizens are the moral compasses? We are being given a tool, and we need to be the ones with the guardrails. And
Yes.
the tools do come with guardrails, so people
Mm.
can figure out that it is a deep fake. There are tools for that as well, right?
Yes. Yes.
So we are the ones who need to develop. We need to literally write the script for this digital citizenship. We are the ones to write it. Uh,
Absolutely. I agree. We talk about the Web3 community, which is again a public community. It's with
mhm.
the public. Powers for the people, by the people, for the people. That's
Yes.
always been this. That's always been the motto for many. It still hasn't changed really. If you look at it, and I think when you said correctly, yes, the guardrails are there. We are basically born with inherent goodness.
Mhm.
It's like even simple thing like hacking. People say hacking. There's ethical hacking and there's hacking. They're both the
Yes.
same thing. The tool is the same,
Tool is the same.
but the result is different. So we need to know. I mean, let's put it this way: we've all done our bit of plagiarism during our time. We copied from here. We done that. I think we've all done our bit. But at some point, we realize that that's not exactly what's you. If you got to be your original self, you got to be your original
Right.
self. I'm not just because my name is Raj Kapoor. I'm not going to sit and sing and dance like him. It's just my name is like that. It's just the same way you need to know you got to be your original self and you got to build your own values. And there's no one in the world who can teach you that. That's be self-taught. That's what the
Mhm.
self-sovereign identity actually resonates with, in my opinion, is that
Yes.
it's self-regulated, self-governed, and
Yes.
self-inflicted also, either way. So
Yes.
all are in this.
Absolutely. And that is where lies the dilemma, right? We want control, but we are quick to say that, we want to be controlled. That we
Yes.
want AI to come with all the ethical guidelines and, with technology that controls those ethics and all of that. But we're not willing to take responsibility, but we're asking for the responsibility. We want
Yes.
sovereign identity, and we are not sure whether we can be sovereign or not, whether we
Yeah.
can manage that citizenship or not, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
There lies a dilemma, and that is where we talk about, identity in Web3.
Yes.
um, so we are talking about having control over our identity, and we're talking about being able to manage our data. And so all these things put together, where do you see that identity falling, in place? How does it fall in place in this whole ideation of we are in between Web 2 and Web 3? Some
Yeah.
people hardly understand what blockchain is in
Yeah.
today's world, the way people didn't understand what database would mean, and how things could be stored in, in a database on a forget about cloud. I mean, they didn't understand how it can be stored in a, how it was being transferred from one computer to the other. And
Yes.
very few understand what blockchain is today. With all these dilemmas, governance is one dilemma, ethics is one dilemma, self sovereignty is one dilemma. With all of those in place, where do you see identity fitting in and falling into place in this Web3 space?
Okay. We need to have a strategy. That's the first and most important thing. We don't have a strategy. If we don't have a strategy, nothing's going to work. So I think the first things first. For those of you who I just extrapolate the self-sovereign identity bit a little bit, the promotion of self SSI solutions is what we call it. SSI is self-sovereign identity. It
Mhm.
basically enables individuals to create, own, and manage their digital identities independently of centralized authorities. That's the most important thing. So basically, SSI platforms, again, they're verifiable credentials like your your birth certificate, your college certificate, etc. All these are your credentials. That awareness needs to be created. I'm talking about a little framework which we need. If we put the framework at a very early stage, especially in universities, it's fantastic.
Yes.
Second thing, I think we need to have, we have the decentralized, what we call identity wallets. We
Yes.
must start encouraging the use of these wallets because they will enable us to store, manage, disclose the credentials of our personal data. It brings your data in a decentralized wallet. Start getting used to that. Decentralized wallets actually give us the ability to authenticate and access service without relying on any third-party ID providers. That's a big plus. It reduces the risk of data breaches, identity theft, which is very common today. I don't want to, speak. You go right now to the dark web. I'll get you what data you want, more or less everything. If they don't have it, they'll get it for you. It's really scary.
By the
Also-
way, you don't even have to go to the dark web. I hear. So my colleague, my assistant Sobhagya, actually opened my eyes to how LinkedIn gives you everything.
Yeah, it gives you
There is a
everything.
tool. There's a tool, and I know I'm not going to name the tool because I don't want people to go out there and actually.
Yeah, we know the.
Yes.
It does.
It showed me the phone numbers I have forgotten. It had this list of my data. It is just a Chrome extension.
Yeah, it's
And
cool.
if you go to LinkedIn and use that, it'll give you every email I used, every phone number I have used, and every workplace I've worked at. And that was scary. So we're talking about dark web, and here we are, in Web 2 world, engaging in open thievery of my data
Right.
and making
Now
it public.
you're right. Absolutely. Now that is your data. I was in the dark web. I'm talking about data which can be really used for compromising multiple situations and mass data. I mean, I use the dark web I go to the dark web very often, not for anything else, but to figure out what the hell is going on because they're way ahead of the curve. So they're
Yes.
way ahead of all the curves. There are no curves after when you look back. There are no curves. It's just a blank. It's a void. It's a vortex.
Right.
So they are really way ahead, and we are really far behind. And I say we. I'm not saying you and I. Maybe we're talking about the general public, as well as institutions and governments. It's very difficult for them to figure out what's really happening. What we also need, coming back to what strategy we need to have. We obviously need to have blockchain-based ID solutions, and that's where SSI comes in here. We really need to start exploring these tamper-proof ID transactions, ID solutions. The easiest form is to get your certificates on blockchain. I mean, that is the easiest, I think, the best use case of blockchain which we can have on a day-to-day basis. We must also be looking at data ownership and consent management. Education are about the rights to own and control personal data. We don't even know our rights actually sometimes, including the importance of obtaining informed consent before sharing data with third parties. Right now, you have to click on I agree in all terms and conditions. You click on it and everything goes. Otherwise you can't use the particular tool or platform.
Yes.
All that's changing. We need to also provide tools and easy interfaces basically that allow users basically manage their data nicely. Revoke data required, track how the information is being used, all these things. We need to make it very, very accessible and very friendly. So that's very important. If it's not friendly, people are going to reject it. Also, you don't have to call it Web3. People sometimes suddenly come up with a word, oh, Web3, something is changing. Just make it so seamless. I don't want to call it 2.5, 2.4, 2.1. Forget all that. Just make it seamless. A conversation which says, okay, 10 years back, who used Google Pay? Hardly anybody. Today, everybody uses Google Pay. It should be as seamless as that. I think that's very, very important of how we need to transit it now. It's the time for transition.
Yeah. The portals, I think, the portal between Web 2 and Web 3, as seamless as we can make it, and that would engage people in wanting to learn and education, awareness, and all of that we require.
Also,
yes, go ahead.
It also needs to have a very user-centric design. I've seen a lot of platforms which are not very user-friendly, Web3 platforms, not very user-friendly sometimes. Sometimes it just scares somebody, says, oh, you have to connect to a wallet. The guy starts thinking, oh, wallet, how do I make another wallet? Will it be what will happen suddenly? And then I have to go out to make a wallet, connect it, all sorts of things. They get a little overwhelmed sometimes. Not everybody. The young generation is pretty spiffy. but some of them do. People in the 30s and 40s who are not that savvy to get that. So basically, the design, the user interface, the accessibility and control should be really cool. You empower them to, set up their own privacy settings, whatever, manage their preferences. Should be really simple, like a drag and drop sort of an exercise. Granular control is important of how they share their data within the Web3 environment.
Right.
Transparent explanations. You should be all right. Oh, it's a simple conversation. It's not some big movement from Web 2 to Web 3. It's a gradual, it's a natural progression anyways. So why are we really so worried? On the other side, in the Web 3 space, we always need to have standards, and we need to have a lot of work around the interoperability. Interoperability standards and data management across platforms is sacrosanct. Without that, there will be stutters, there will be obstacles. Standard protocols, interoperable solutions, seamless integration, all these basically allows you and me to maintain a consistency, and then we say, oh, we're compatible with this now. Now we are good to go. And of course, the education never goes anywhere anyways. It all boils down to education and awareness, any start off with, always.
And the best place to catch them is during, I would say, their education phase, where they're already being educated, and educate them with one more tool that, one more tool that they can use to simplify their entire journey from education to employment to their literally life maps going to be on a digital platform. And I was having an interesting conversation today with one healthcare provider, and they were talking about, especially in the US, there are two major institutions that hold most of the medical records.
Yes.
And they wanted to introduce Solverse and Sol ID into their clinic, to manage their patients and all. And as we were having the discussion about the records and everything, they said, forget it. Nobody's going to give you access to those. You just have to simply manage the patient incoming and outgoing and all of that. And that is where I had to educate them about the actual reason why we are doing what we are doing. It is about those medical records. The power lies in two institutes' hand as to what kind of my data. I don't know what data my doctor is actually seeing. There could be something in there that I don't want them to see.
Right.
Let's say I'm going in there for a simple procedure, probably let's say for nothing else, for my appendix to be removed. I wouldn't want them to know that probably I had cancer at some point, or probably I had something else at some point. I don't want them to look at all my records unless it is relevant to that particular procedure. Yes. And today the doctor would have your entire file, and we understand those abuses continue to happen, right? And that is education is what I believe, when we talk about Solverse and Sol ID, just talking about the particular product and such, the education has been intense and immense. And it is daunting as well, because to make this particular client understand that it is not just about inpatient check in and check out. That is not exactly what there is no value to what we can bring to the table with that. And they were like outright, that's never going to happen. You're never going to have access to the data that these institutes hold. So what would you say the government's role would be in probably wrangling this power from private institutes, so to speak, and put this back into the hands of the people? And is the government ready to do it?
Well, the government is, I don't know whether the government is ready. I'll be very honest. I was talking to somebody about zero knowledge proofs, for example, in the government settings. Just for a lot of us who don't really understand zero knowledge proofs, I'll make it simple. Zero is ZKPs or zero knowledge proofs, or any other privacy preserving crypto techniques. It's basically a crypto technique to enable secure, computations, etc. It allows parties to prove knowledge of a statement without disclosing the underlying data. That's the key thing. And that's exactly what you were referring to, more or less. When people don't understand this, and your question was whether governments are going to accept it. Well, possibly. It's going to be a big push. It's going to be a major revolution to do that. He's going to take a lot of upheavals, but it's going to be done at some point of time. Governments are ready, but who's going to bail the cat? Government says, okay, let's look at the proof of the pudding, where it is, where are you using it? I go back to, you talked about healthcare. I go back to universities.
Mhm.
Let's say a university. Ask universities, most universities, not there are some very progressive ones in India also now. Ask them to start putting all their credentials on the blockchain.
Mhm.
See the reaction. Literally, oh, why? What are you telling me? You're telling me? You're talking to me? Type, like, I know everything, guys. So, I'm not going to name people. I don't want to. I don't blame them. They come from a different mindset. Everybody's got their own. But there's a very difficult thing, and that's where all the not. We need to push things from the university level in the first place. The government
Mhm.
comes in afterwards. It's when the awareness lies with the citizens, then they can actually lobby with the governments and have parleys with dialogues and debates with governments on the value of it. But if you don't even know what it is, neither the government is aware of it, neither the students are aware of it. So who the hell is really aware of all this? You and I, a
Mhm.
handful of people. A
Yeah.
handful of people is not going to make this content. It's not going to make a change. It's going to be
Right.
a movement. It's going to be a mass movement, and the mass movement can only start at the education levels. So,
Right.
therefore, I think the best education should be given to the education institutions first. Awareness, so that they
Yes.
can inculcate it not as a part of, education institutions give us degrees. They don't give us knowledge. They don't give us education as such. They give us degrees.
Mhm.
That's not what we want. A
Yeah.
responsible citizen, an aware citizen, that's what we want. We
Mhm.
do we look at, I mean, anybody can get a degree today. Nobody fails in a private education system. Yeah, nobody wants to fail them. You get out, good, 100% placement, 100%, getting in, admissions, all that stuff. These are all perception management techniques. We don't want that. At the end of the day, we want real, real value education, and this today has become a very relevant aspect of education. So let's start from there,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
put your money where your mouth is, as people say. Actually
Mhm.
start implementing it. Check it out.
Mhm.
See for yourself the value that it brings to the table. See how
Mhm.
wallets work. And youngsters are, it's like, for them, it's like they take to fish like water. No problem at all for them.
Yeah.
Now, fast forward it to the government. Here we have the block educations. Now we take the governments. The governments need to be told exactly the same thing that we're teaching the kids out here.
Mhm.
There has to be a sync between what these two guys are learning. If they are
Mhm.
learning something, and there's going to be an asymmetry, there's going to be an opaqueness, there'll always be an instability. It's not going to happen
Right.
again. So we need
Right.
to really come across and build in the framework, put in the standards, and teach everybody around. Then come
Mhm.
the corporate will adopt a little more easier. They are always receptive to change and always looking at something new. Yes. But the other ends of the spectrum, the other stakeholders, institutional and government, need to be very well educated or made aware of, and the benefits thereafter. Nobody's taking away anybody's power. It's just making it more secure and more democratized. Now
Mhm.
power is more democratized power now. It's always going to be much better if we do it this way. We do a lot of backward integration and forward integration at the same time. It cannot be done at two different times. The sync is now.
Yes. Yeah. It has to be synced. On that note, Raj, on the note of educating both, the young generation and the governments, um, do tell us a little bit about the work that you are doing in that space through IBA and to other partnerships that you have different chapters across the globe that
Yes.
support IBA to do exactly this, to bring on to build relationships, to build bridges to both citizens and governments and all of that.
Hmm.
Um, do tell us a little bit about that. So if somebody is listening in today, can reach out to you
Yeah.
to build that bridge in their own community.
All right. So it's something which is very close to our heart. When we started when we started our IBA initiative in India, I mean, I had come down from the US that time, and I said, hey, India's got talent, and we need to bring in this wonderful technology to this wonderful tech nation. Nobody asked me about blockchain at that time. They only asked me about Bitcoin. So I'll put that to one side.
Mm-hmm.
But over a period of time, we've seen that if we are, by the way, IBA is a not for profit. When I say it's a not for profit, we do not wish to make profits from our initiatives, because our initiatives is to try and make people understand, become aware, and then become mainstream in the space where we are.
Mm-hmm.
We can't do it if we have a profit motive, because then there'll be a different agenda altogether. So while we have other businesses where we have our for-profit businesses, but as IBA, we decided to bring about awareness as a key factor, to bring in people under a common umbrella, since we don't have any common standards in this space. So we started educating people, and education was again the genesis block, so to speak, the first thing which we did.
Right.
In India, we laid the genesis block through education. Now, what we do is try to bring in as many people who are like-minded under this portfolio, under our umbrella. And the umbrella is not just ours, it's an umbrella for everybody. I will
Right.
not say it's an India umbrella. It's an umbrella, it's a global umbrella, it's an inclusive umbrella, it's not exclusive. It is for everyone. Everyone's welcome, whether it's a 15-year-old students, we have members, 15-year-old student, and then we have big boys like the Algo, we have Sandbox and Avalanche and plenty of others who are part of IBA. So it's for everybody. We have startups as people whom we mentor and train, and then I work with Tatas also. So it's the entire spectrum. Anybody who's aligned to this, while we did successfully in India, we did a fairly successful in India, because now we have now opened about 12 different chapters in India. The latest one being in Bangalore. Others are coming up, and we're going to have one probably everywhere, because they all have the same agenda: awareness, education, reaching out, outreach, education, not for all stakeholders. I'm not just saying for institutional, it's going to be at the government level, corporate level, all levels, and with an underlying theme on sustainable tech. When we talk about technology, everything of this is bundled with sustainable tech, what we call tech for good. Not always tech for profit, but tech for good. That's our lead concept, so to speak. Now, we've done this in India. Just before this today, we had a nice conversation with Zambia. Zambia says we would like to replicate what IBA is doing. Now, that itself is something which we feel very humbled and honored. Similarly, Nigeria. And the icing on the cake was we just opened with the European Union. And the IBA is now partnered with members of the European Union to have a complete chapter for Europe. That is incredible for us, because it's an acknowledgement of the good work we're doing, and the whole team of IBA. Some of them have been probably listening, and I don't know. One of them promised me that they will listen to me. Otherwise, they listen to me every day. They get tired of me. But yes, we do a lot of work in trying to make people really, really try. It's an uphill task. It's not a task which is very easy for us. It's an uphill task, because it requires constant begging away. But that's exactly how you grow. There is no moment, sudden climb. Oh, everybody's got. We've enlightened everybody. It's not Moses and the 10 Commandments. Read the commandments and everybody's enlightened. No, we are reading 1,000 commandments, and we're reading it every day. But there's the love in that. There's a passion in that, and I think all of us at IBA enjoy that passion. You're part of IBA. You also enjoy that passion. I'm enjoying that with you as well. So we are doing all of us doing good stuff together. We need just a fistful of good people. We have them.
To the listeners who are listening to us right now, and to those who probably will listen to this later on the recorded ones that we post on our social media, here is somebody you can reach out to if you want to build something in the space of educating people about blockchain, about future tech, about citizens' responsibility towards this tech, and how we behave and how we take it and how we use it, and how we, I would say, add value to this entire environment. Please reach out to Raj. He is a mentor and a great advisor. And I believe that there is a lot of value in what you can bring to the table, and that he can amplify it. You'll find him on LinkedIn, on Twitter, and we'll put the links in our comments a little later. Raj, there's one particular question I wanted to keep to almost till the end, and we're going to be showing a little bit of video as well. So we have 10 minutes left. Before that, quick question is, we talked about us being ready. We talked about the citizens being ready for Web3 and our responsibility towards the ethics, towards the governance and our data and all of that. How much of it translates eventually to us being able to not create the environment that probably ends up, the government's taking away our rights? What is I'm looking at the other side of this whole education intention and all of that, right? What are the chances of us muddling up this power shift, the technology shifts, and all of that? That one last question that will probably be the one that we want to leave the listeners with, because we want them to understand the negative impact that we can have with our individual digital citizenship on this entire environment.
I think each one of us has a responsibility to make sure that this doesn't happen. We don't want a
Mhm.
mess. We don't want a hot mess, that's for sure. And that's going to happen if there is, which is it's heading that way. I see it for on quite some occasions, but there is always a course correction. I've also seen the course correction happening. I also see. We are actually waiting for these elections to get over, and then
Mhm.
from a government perspective to see if real solid policies start coming in, because there have been a lot of submissions, a lot of people
Mhm.
on how to
Mhm.
make things, especially in the Web3 space, much more transparent and in
Mhm.
the forefront. Right
Mhm.
now, it's not on the forefront. We talk
Right.
about Web3 without knowing what is Web3. We talk about
Right.
Web2 just about knowing what is Web2. It's like this. I put it this way: in 1995, when the
Mhm.
internet came, 0.5% of the people were using the internet.
Mhm.
Just a few fraction.
Yeah. Yeah.
First, fast forward to 2024, almost 70% of the world is using the internet.
Mhm.
It's gone through its iterations, but it's been there. And look at the adoption.
Yeah.
That's the same methodology and the adoption we will get when we talk about Web3.
Mhm.
Imagine from point 0.5 and now this. Also, remember one thing, as an aside, nothing to do with this sometimes, but today, a few years, like in 2020, 21, 0.5 of the population had Bitcoin. Imagine when
Right.
60% has 60 or 70% has that. Look at that
Right.
transition. It's going to be different. But bottom line is, I'm not talking about Bitcoin here. I'm talking about the technology.
Mhm.
Just a few years ago, just a few years
Mhm.
ago, nobody talked about blockchain.
Mhm.
Well, they just always used to confuse it with Bitcoin. That
Right.
one veil has been lifted. That one layer
Right.
has been peeled, and we've gone into the next layer. At least we
Right.
know that no, blockchain is not Bitcoin. Most people have understood that. And now
Mhm.
they're looking at the real world application of the technology. Is it
Right.
a problem looking for a solution, or is it a solution for all the problems?
And it
That's
has
the
been
now.
a quick fast-paced shift to
Yes.
understanding and application.
Absolutely. And that I think has been the biggest thing. And that has been, I think, at the individual and the community around Web3 has really made it happen. Whether it's at events, whether it is at different programs, debates,
Right.
programs like these make an impact. Today, some
Right.
of them think, oh, it's just another program. No, it's part of the little, as they say, every stone was laid on to make the Ram Setu from India to Sri
Right.
Lanka. These are the little building blocks. These are the stones which are leading us to the ultimate objective. This is
Mhm.
what we need all the time. And we need to be constantly doing it. If we don't do it constantly, we'll get into some sort of a relaxed mode and then hibernation.
Right.
Hibernation is the easiest thing in the world. Ask anybody. It's the easiest thing. Getting
That's.
complacent, hibernation. Now that's not, so the Web3 community is young, they're
Mhm.
dynamic, they want change, they are aware, and they are technology savvy. So I
Mhm.
think it's the community which is actually going to make its business case to the governments as well at some point of time.
Right.
We
Right.
immediately, right, as I
And that
said,
is,
we are
I think that is the stage we need to
yes,
arrive at, and for us to see the intense shift.
absolutely.
That's awesome, Raj. It's been enlightening, and we're not done yet. But we're going to take a short, brief break for you to play the video that we wanted to
Oh,
play. Please go ahead and do that, and then we will continue. We have another 5 minutes. We'll continue.
sure. The little video is nothing but a 1 minute video, which tells you how important it is to have your own digital identity and protect it as a student, as a career person, as you and
Mhm.
me. I'll just show that
Sure.
to you. It'll probably give you some more insights into what we spoke about. And let me share that, present it. With your
Well, Raj is working on it. Viewers, this is for you to take a little something away from the show to understand how your identity is going to change over a period of time with the technologies. with blockchain technologies in the Web3 space. I do not want to confuse you with blockchain and Web3 being the same. They're not again. But we will let Raj play the video and then we'll
Here we
continue.
go. Just a little video. Just sit back, relax, enjoy it. It's fun. Just try and get the underlying message behind it. That's important.
Looking
Not the
forward to
people,
it.
who are, not what is, not the companies, just the message.
What do we want out of work? Make a living? A sense of autonomy? Connection? A sense of pride? 4 billion people are connected online. Cars drive themselves, and appliances can communicate. Yet we still rely on resumes to navigate through the stormy global labor markets. What if we could turn work achievements into digital credentials, verified, secured, and truly global? What if everyone was invited to claim theirs, own them, privately store them, use them to access better opportunities? Introducing Velocity, the world's network for verified and trusted career credentials, designed for the digital age. It's governed by a nonprofit foundation set out to put people back in control and build a globally accessible, trustworthy internet of careers. It's powered by blockchain, making it trusted, private, and effortless. For Victor to apply for a new job, for Io to verify her engineering degree, and for Neri to assure her nursing license is valid. We are Velocity. Join us as we move to change the world of work.
So that's what it means, and that's exactly what Soulverse now we are doing together. Along with it's a common platform. This is a foundation, and
Yeah.
I'm going to get you inside very fast, Kavita. This is going to be our turning point to make things happen.
Absolutely. And as we take this forward in the identity space, as we build, I look at identity as a building block of everything Web3. Just as we look at having an email, as your building block of having all these online presence, your content, your data, and all of that, your access to websites and everything. Identity is going to be your foundational layer. The decentralized identity is going to be a foundational layer for everything that is going to be built in Web3. And that is where we need to understand this digital citizenship a lot more than we understand it today. We got away with being rude. We got away with doing whatever we did, and probably everything would eventually be erased. But people need to realize that your behavior, your presence, your everything is going to be immutable eventually on blockchain. Keep
Yes.
that in mind. And when we talk about your digital citizenship, comes with a lot of responsibility, and that is what we spoke about today. The governance is both in the hands of the government and in yourself, and your self-governed ethics. There will be guardrails that are being built into the technologies that are being produced, but the guardrails are in your own, in your heart, in your mind, and in your soul, that you cannot do away with. And your identity, there will be some government related identities, because they will still give you possibly the passports. We dream of a world where there is passportless world, but until that eventually happens, there is still going to be government who's going to give you a passport, but the ability for you to allow people to see it will lie in your hands, and that is your responsibility, and that is the ownership that you will have. And we hope that you will deal with it responsibly and bring that responsibility to your online presence and to the Web3 world. On that note, I would like to take leave, and I would like to thank Raj for bringing his intents. We wanted to talk about his patents too. Unfortunately, we ran out of time, but we will make it another episode, because we want to dive deep into his knowledge, the deep technical knowledge he has on AI and blockchain and all the patents that we probably can go look it up, patents in his name. But we would like to make it an episode. Thank you, everyone, for dialing in. And we look forward to see you again for the season 2, chapter 1. And stay tuned for a surprise on that when we launch. Thank you so much for joining in. Thank you, Raj, for your kind presence.
Thank you. My pleasure. Completely
privilege
enjoyed
is
the
all
show.
up.
Yes. I'll see you on the other side. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.